My name is George Njuguna.
And I'm Teresa and George.
You can make a very good presenter.
I will join you soon to do this. Yeah.
Prison. That's where we are at. Part 2.
Gosh. You say it sometimes I even can't believe I'm the one who went through that experience.
I looked at you down there when you're getting lost of where to go.
Yeah.
You're coming up and I'm like, this chick went through all this?
I know.
Huh?
I know. That fire, it's really true when God says that you will go through the fire and you will not look like you won't even smell of smoke. It's so true. It's so true. Because even I sometimes, I'm like, did I really go through that? Or it's a story, but I did go through it.
It looks like a movie.
Yes. Yes.
And for the sake of you, our listeners, we are not ending this discussion today. Next week, we continue with part 2. We don't know where we'll end, but we'll pick it up when we get to the top of the hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, so tell me about this life with your
3-month-old daughter.
daughter.
Yeah. And, I was a first-time mom.
Yeah.
So I'm adjusting to being a mother. I'm excited about the blessing, but at the same time, what we're going through. And then you know how you keep praying for a family, for children, and you've got these plans. So you had plans for your career, you had plans for your family, and there are all these thoughts in your mind. And now nothing is going according to plan. Like nothing is going according to what you had envisioned. And yet there's nothing wrong you have done to warrant things not to go according to plan. Like you've actually done the right things. And it's because of doing the right things that you're ending up in such a horrible situation. So nothing was making sense. And I kept being reminded, for sure, you make plans, but it's God at the end of the day who has the final say. The final word is God, no matter how much you plan. And those first 3 months before I could get a date in court, I really wrestled and struggled with God. So I have been faithful to you. I have done the right thing. We have journeyed together. And then you could let me down like this.
Yeah.
I even started looking at, okay, what is this that I did that made God so angry for him to turn his back on me?
Yeah.
It wasn't making sense the first 3 months. And he was very quiet at that time. He wasn't saying anything. That time when I was trying to make sense, quiet. So when I went to court in June, and I was told that I was now given another date for the determination of the appeal, I was like, but the sentence will be over. So I came back now to prison with a changed attitude and mindset.
You're ready to go all the way.
Now, I don't even have a choice. I don't even have a choice now. So I remember my dad asked me, will you manage? And I told him, I will not only manage, but don't stress yourself even about trying to get a closer date, or because you have to really keep going every day to court to find whether there could be an opening, and you're stressing yourself so much, to try and bring the date closer. So I said to him, don't even stress yourself about trying to bring the date closer. I'm finishing this. So I went now set to finish this sentence. So when I went back, I now say to God, okay, God, why am I here? What is this about? So now, for the first time, I put all the complaining, all the struggling to get out aside. And I was like, okay, nothing ever defeats you. So there's no way I'm the first case that is defeating you. Definitely, you're not beginning with
And
me.
I'm sure even there you experienced that.
You know, so now, what is this about? At that time when I asked him that, now, let me tell you, it was from that point that my life turned around.
Wow.
It was at that point, even though I was in prison, it was at that point I got my freedom.
Wow.
When I asked God, what is this about? Why am I here? Everything changed for me. And he started showing me those women who are in there. So from that point on, I moved the focus from me and my daughter to the women, the warders. Like I even knew now I'm in prison and I'm with all these people. Because before then, I had even locked myself in my own mind and I was in my own special cocoon. And I'm going to get out of this place that I am in by mistake. So I started asking those women their stories. What has your journey been to now being in prison? And the stories were horrendous. Like, the first 3 months, I used to tell those women, don't touch my baby. Don't come anywhere near me. I am not a criminal like you. But when I started listening to them, I even saw how biased I was. I had judged them so harshly. You know, some of the women would tell me how they dropped out of primary school because their mother, who was the only caregiver, the only parent, died of cancer. And at that point, they became the caregiver now. And at that point, things went south to a point where they ended up in prison. Like, when I listened to their journeys of how they ended up to prison, they were not criminals. It was circumstances and the lack of opportunities, opportunities that God had given me that they didn't have. And it's not like God had given me these opportunities because I was very good or I was deserving or like a good education, parents who could provide for me, parents who could mentor me and show me the right way, take me to church and like mold me and make sure, protect me, like I got a good job. Like now I started seeing my life was a blessing as opposed to it was a right. Sitting in my comfort that, this number of students didn't make it to institutions of higher learning. The unemployment rate in Kenya is at this percent. Poverty rate is 53% in Kenya. People who live below the poverty rate are this number. You know, you only see statistics, but you never think, but there are people who make up these statistics. Actually, my bias was, if you don't make it to higher institutions of learning, if you don't have a job, you're very lazy. It's because you're lazy, you're not working hard. You see? So you're already putting yourself as this righteous person who works hard, who does the right thing, who deserves. It's a blessing from God. Now, I learned that. There's nothing, probably they were even more hardworking than myself. But they couldn't get those opportunities. So at that point now, God started showing me how I could serve him to make it better for these women, for those children, and for those young girls that I found there.
Wow.
And I kid you not, my year in prison, I only did 8 months and I was released. So I went in March 4th, November 4th, I was released. And okay, I was told I've been released on grounds of good behavior. You wonder, like, when you were getting me from wherever you got me from, I had bad behavior. But anyway, so I was released. But I truly believe that I was released at that time because I had already gotten the lesson that I needed to get to then fast forward the work that I do today, because I would not be able to do the work that I do today excellently and well if I hadn't gone through that experience.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, it's 4 minutes to the top of the hour, and that is where I want us to give it a pause. I'm thinking, of course, next week we're going to talk about now what God called you to, your purpose. And I will bring in a twist to it, which we will discuss with you. If it's okay, then we do it that way. But for me is two things. Is your family.
Yeah.
They stood with you.
Throughout, to date.
There is no day they ever left you.
Ever.
And that is a very, very important thing.
Yeah.
I am now convicted to seeing how we can do this more as a station and even as an individual. I have seen very bad things that have happened to people around me, and just trying to... I've had prison is bad, I'll be very honest.
It is.
But today you've brought it home.
Yeah.
You have brought it up. And I'm just even trying to imagine how that girl got to a year. Did you get a cake for her?
Of course I did.
In prison.
Yeah.
Of course, you have made friends, so she can celebrate with them inside there. In prison, did you still used to have their 1,000 shillings?
Did I still have the?
Have their 1,000 shillings to help others?
Yes. Especially through my family.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because we could. Yeah.
And so that is what I want us to talk about next week when we continue with this show. It doesn't stop here, it continues. And after this, we're going to have the recording for today up on our podcast. That is Bloom Radio, KE, on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. But on podcast, it is Bloom Radio, KE. That is on Anchor or on Google Podcast. That is, or even on Spotify, and even on iTunes Podcast or Apple Podcast. That is where we are going to have this. See you next week, same time, same place. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May he bless your coming in and your going out. And may he grant you the desires of your heart. It may not be, the process may not be what you like, but at the end of it all, he is God, and he's going to emerge victorious, just like Teresa.
Amen.